Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to the show On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. Tonight, we take a closer look at the systems and regulations that shape how goods and services are traded across borders, from tariffs and import controls to regional trade agreements and national economic strategies. Trade policies play a critical role in influencing prices, business growth, and job creation. In an increasingly interconnected world, the balance between protecting domestic industries and promoting open markets has become more important and more complex than ever before. Governments must navigate issues such as fair competition, supply chain stability, and sustainable development, all while responding to global economic shifts. To help us unpack these important topics, we are joined by experts and policy makers who will share insights into how trade orders are structured, the impact of current policies, and what the future may hold for businesses and consumers alike. Introduce my panel this evening. I have the Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, woman MP-elect for Mbale City. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto.
Thank you, Mr.
And congratulations for having won the Mbale City seat.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamara, to my colleagues in the panel. Good evening to our listeners and viewers, and thank you for inviting me to NTV talk show. Thank you. I bring you greetings from Mbale City. And I want to thank them again for voting for me to be a member of parliament for Mbale City. And
by the way, if there's one characteristic that I've seen about you, Lydia, is the characteristics of being consistent and persisting on something. And I've just learned that when you persist on something, it eventually goes right, and it did.
Thank you. I'm an old girl of Gaya's High School. Our motto is never give up. We never give up. If you're on the right side of history, it will absorb you. Thank you.
We have Mr. John Walugembe, Executive Director, Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises. Thank you for joining us, John.
Thank you, Patrick. It's a pleasure to be here on the spot. And I would like to greet the listeners of NTV and also to say hello to my fellow panelists.
We also have Amanda Ngabirano, Chairperson, National Fiscal Planning Board. Thank you for joining us, Amanda.
You're welcome, Patrick, and good evening, our listener and viewer, and good evening, my fellow panelists. And you have to always remember that it is former chairperson.
Yes, oh yes.
And maybe Honorable Wanyoto also will hint on something like that about the former chairperson of the National Fiscal Planning Board.
Okay.
See how she's nodding.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for having honored our invitation to come for this discussion. Let me begin with you, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto. I have seen the government of Uganda, and especially in the city areas, they're trying to reorganize trade, put things right. I have seen ladies and men who have cried because their businesses have been destroyed. They have been taken off the road. This is where they have been for ages. They have been able to take their children to school. They have been able to build their livelihoods, by working along the roadside. Yes, it may not have been good for them to do so, but when you come and disrupt the system the way they have done, without giving an alternative, is that good for the common hustler?
The issue of trade order has been ongoing, but the enforcement is what is happening countrywide. You remember that even 10 to 15 years ago, there has been massive government projects on construction of main markets. In Kampala, we have a new market. In Wandegea, we had a new market improved in Kalere. We have a new market even in Usafi. Remember Usafi market, the problems there. And up country, I come from Mbale, so we have a new market there. Removing vendors was a battleground, but now they have a new market. And all these markets, the stores are owned by the original owners who don't pay rent because these are government infrastructure. they pay for security and utilities and maybe garbage waste management. But officially the structures are for those at the urban hustlers, like you said, the vendors. So when the available market infrastructure that is planned may not be enough because of the nature of the rural-urban migration. And the people now have got parish development model, some 1 million, so you want to put some small shelter somewhere and begin doing business, some small investment. But this is at variance with the big picture of cleaning the city, managing the drainage, and ensuring that we meet the standards of a clean, ordered, properly drained, because these people are doing business on the walkways. So the campaign now is to make sure how do you provide space to remove people from the walkways, from the kiosks, from the places which are not planned to be trade areas. That should be the debate now. But that there should be trade order, that one is a given. And let me, I've talked of the other side of order. But let me tell you about also the trade. You have people that are paying license, landlords that are paying license and are paying rent for landlords in shops. Now, you, Kamara, you come with your small kiosk, you put it in front of my shop. Sometimes you even do the night industry, you do business throughout, and you bring things from shops, you sell them in front of me, then my shop, me who's paying rent, I cannot get customers. Everybody is hustling for customers. So that's what they call trade order. But me and you, I agree that there should be alternatives. And those alternatives should be given an address so that if someone wants to buy from me, they know where I have shifted to, which is properly arranged by the city planners or by the government authorities. And so the problem is not just the one who has put there a stall or a makeshift for cooking or frying chips or selling airtime or a heap of tomatoes somewhere walking on the veranda. The problem is not even those people, the problem is even the buyers. So it's two-way. But I think because without buyers, these people would not be there.
I think the problem is...
So the issue is alternatives.
Lydia, the problem seems even to be three-way because there's a government that has presided over the growth of these businesses on the streets for decades. People have built livelihoods there. They have sent their children to school using money, which they're getting, doing that kind of business. And now you come and throw them off without an alternative. Is that even fair?
I think it's a very important conversation that is going on, and we should find a middle ground. But while we're looking at people who are being told there's that enforcement that is removing the disorder, because they're talking about trade order, so there must be a disorder. We need an orderly environment. Even in the waste management talking about, where do these people, because there is no order, where do they dump the garbage they leave on the roadside when they're doing their business? Where do they where do they go for sanitation facilities? Because they're not properly planned before. If you put there your small shelter and bring your tomatoes and bring your vegetables, where do you go to the toilet? Because even those sanitation facilities are not planned for them.
But look, before you even come to Mr. Walugembe, he's talking about sanitation issues.
So I want, get me right.
Yes.
I feel for people who have been removed because they didn't expect that the Ugandan government can enforce a trade order. But again, we want to find out and enforce. This Walugembe is a part of the stakeholders, very serious stakeholders. Madam Amanda is a very serious professional. You talked about, you give people about titles, but the profession remains. She will go with her all her life. She's a professional environmentalist, a fiscal planner. That goes with her life. So whether you have a title or not, but the profession remains.
You know, you talked
but
about...
the issue is...
Yes, Lydia.
Let's make sure that the alternatives are there, but people are also stubborn. There are those who don't want to move to where they've been planned.
Let me give you an example. You talked about sanitation and probably even areas
the drainage, the floods,
and areas of confusion.
The waste management.
Uganda,
all that's part of the confusion of the trade order.
Uganda is fronting ATMs. You know, one of the ATMs, the T is a tourism.
Yes.
Sometimes I wonder, you know, you have these American, Japanese, and whatever, Russian, Chinese tourists, they're going all over. If you are traveling along our roads, for example, from Mitiana, Mubende, Fort Porto, to the tourism city, there's not any area where people can have an area of convenience. You know, you are a tour operator, you're taking these tourists. I don't know when they feel they want to answer a call of nature, you just tell them to go to the bush. And
I agree there should be roadside.
That's what happens.
Roadside
and yet tourism, Lydia, is one of the biggest earners of Uganda's foreign exchange.
I agree.
And there are no places of convenience along our highways. I sometimes sympathize with the tour operators. What do you even do before you chase these fellows off the road because they could cause sanitation issues?
Well, a city in an urban area and is the first encounter of any visitor or any order. If you are going to move on Kampala Road and on the sides there are heaps of mangoes being sold, someone is walking along the way, cannot walk, there are borders moving up and down with goods, there are vendors moving up and down. What do you expect on the highways?
Mr. Walugembe, I want you to explain to us what kind of disruption this has been, and how it is affecting the common business person as we try to have some
First of all, I'm surprised that Madame Wanyoto is explaining things. They seem to make sense, but I would say that this trade order operation is ill-conceived, it's ill-timed, it was not well planned, and in some instances it's disorganized. And I'll start by saying this. We have what we call the National Physical Development Plan from 2021-2040. It envisages urban areas being engines of economic growth. It also looks at government setting in place serviced industrial sites along major infrastructure corridors. It looks at transportation, it looks at settlement, it looks at business areas. So what's happening is that, and also the other fact is that over 90% of Uganda's private sector are micro, small, and medium enterprises. The other fact is Uganda has a very high unemployment rate. The other fact is by 2040, Uganda's urban population will double. The other fact also is that government has not planned properly to keep up with that urbanization. For instance, all the 10 cities lack physical development plans. So, you ambush MSMEs by writing a letter. The Minister of the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Local Government wrote a letter commencing this trade order. What was there in that letter? It was about removing campaign posters, cleaning marketplaces, enforcing laws, cleaning trade places. What has been done in practice? Demolitions. Demolitions, of kiosks and so on in road reserves that don't look clean. So what we see is absolute confusion. What are you trying to do exactly? Because does the Ministry of Local Government have a mandate to do what it's doing at the moment? Because on one hand, if you're saying these things are not well built according to plan, that is the jurisdiction of the Building Control Act, structural plans and so on and so forth. Then if there's an issue of physical planning, you're going to the Ministry of Lands and Housing. I know that the National Planning Authority has a role, but not in enforcement, because they have swallowed this board that Amanda used to head, but theirs is around planning and so on. Enforcement is supposed to belong to the Ministry of Lands. So this, I would say that the implementation of this trade order has been extremely disruptive for businesses. They have destroyed people's assets, people's kiosks, people's buildings, limited notice, no education. You see, you can give someone ample time and say, in 6 months, we plan to enforce trade order. If you are in a road reserve, please exit. If you don't have a plan, do this. If you don't educate people, go and educate them. This has not been done at all. So what you're seeing is that we are shooting ourselves in the foot. These MSMEs create jobs. I've already told you about the unemployment problem. These MSMEs that whose buildings and assets and so on are being destroyed, they are centers of consumption. Mind you, in Uganda, most of our taxes are consumptive taxes. So you put 400 shillings on cooking oil, you've destroyed the lady who cooks chips and so on. How are you going to collect this money? We are saying,
I can imagine small.
So we are saying we are disrupting the businesses. We are also to a certain extent, disrupting the economy. You're not going to raise sufficient revenue. You're also going to find it difficult to be able to create jobs, and then you'll have insecurity.
I can imagine, Mr. Walugembe, small and medium enterprises, that seems to be something that is within your constituents, and you're very passionate about them.
For sure.
But are you for order or you're for disorder?
No, we are for order, but you cannot.
And how should order come?
You cannot use disorder to create order. You see, that's what we are saying. What law are you putting in place? Because the PS quoted the Trade Licensing Act. What's the penalty? The penalty for not having a license is to destroy my premise or what? If I build in a road reserve, are there guidelines for use of space in a road reserve? Yes, 2018. I myself have applied for permission to use a road reserve. So guide people. Don't use the Trade Licensing Act to say, oh, we are destroying buildings without plans, we are destroying buildings that are in the wrong places. The point is, let's have a cross-ministerial thought process about this. What do we want to achieve? Let all the stakeholders be there. Let's educate the masses. Let's give them time. Let's not ambush them. Why do you have operations in the night and very early in the morning? These young people who have gotten loans from PDM, from microfinance institutions, how are they going to repay? So I'm asking Madam Lydia and all the policymakers, let us be humane.
You know, there's something...
Let us be humane and kind, and let us follow the law.
Yeah,
just because...
Mr. Walugembe, when you travel...
Just because you have access to a great...
travel across the region,
yes.
You know, our neighbors in the south, for example, and you see
which country?
In Rwanda, for example.
No, Rwanda is a different case. It's a small country, very small country. But even outside the CBD...
Who says if we are big, we cannot be better? We cannot even be cleaner?
Not by demolishing livelihoods.
No, you know...
if you look at the growth of the economy...
Kampala had reached a level where it is so embarrassing. It's shaming.
No, we are not talking about Kampala. We are not opposed, first of all, we are not opposed to the operations that were conducted in CBD to clear vendors. We are in agreement. And we said so. But why are you going to the village in Mayuge, in wherever, that you're creating a smart city?
Okay, let me come to you.
This is
Amanda, you are an urban development specialist. You're a city planner. You have left your footprint on the streets of Kampala. What do you make of this?
Both Honorable Wanyoto and Mr. Walugembe are very right.
You don't want to annoy anybody.
No. I would like to speak from a professional point of view and also from my involvement with this kind of work. First of all, we need to appreciate that we need an organized space, city or rural, urban or rural, municipality, trading center, whatever space. That is why we see even in the developed world, especially where they have good physical development plans, you even see a sunflower garden is very clear, rice farms very clear, cattle farming, everything, there's a plan, there's no haphazard. I think we need to appreciate that fact of order in any space. And issues like drainage have been raised, but we need to also factor in the competition on space, especially in urban areas. And I think that's why Mr. Walugembe is talking about Mayuge, that trade order can apply in a place like Kampala, but not in a place like Mayuge. I think that the impact might be the same in terms of disorder and also the other leakages that are happening. Honestly speaking, nobody should wish the vendors to keep vending the way they do. in the heat, in the rain, in the mud, in the floods, in the chaos, in the air pollution. The starting point is, do we have a plan whereby we can allocate functions like trade, commercial activities. There are also makeshifts like open spaces that we convert into markets, but there is a plan. And this plan has come from the city authority or local government authority, communicated to the public. And the public should appreciate the purpose of this plan. By the way, it should always be in public interest. Every plan, every change in the urban space, in any space geographically, by the public sector professional called a physical planner, should be in public interest. The main beneficiary is the citizen. And in this case, I would understand Mr. Walugembe's point of view, and also Honorable Wanyoto, because the citizen is in the heart of what they are doing, which is the same as us, the physical planners. However, we need to be very balanced in this. The communication is the challenge of this factor. So for me, I think that let's not confuse the citizens. Let us be open and explain to them that there has to be order. I mean, it's even the goods that they sell. Sometimes you just see it's wasted, it's spoiled. Now, when you look at the competition for space, especially in urban areas, a road, what is a road for? It's beyond the traffic. You have a walkway, you have the utility lines, you have the green space, the island, and you have a bicycle lane, you have a private car. You know, there's categorization.
But you see, Amanda, I'm sorry to disrupt you. You are talking things, some of them you have actually done them. And especially the creation, you are involved in the creation of the non-motorized transport corridor around Namirembe Road coming down. But really, a beautiful idea that has been turned around to something else, you know, because there's no enforcement, probably there's no sensitization. What was meant to give comfort to the city dwellers has become something very different. And you know, so sometimes government must be robust at the very start in the enforcement. Yes, it will cause some pain, but maybe along the way people can learn.
The most sustainable way in the planning process is the involvement of the citizens, of the beneficiaries from the first stage, from inception. And you are quoting the Namirembe Road project. From inception, we had engagements with the citizens. And this is where Mr. Walugembe is right.
But see how it has been abused.
Now, when we try to implement, when the city authority implements, and when we get the trade order directive, we have people who are affected, because that's the complaint you have. You were among the first people to complain about the abuse of the non-motorized transport corridor. Because of the walkway being turned into a market, fruits, you're competing with tomatoes, you're competing with katunkuma, etc. So you feel that your space as a pedestrian has been taken away. And like Honorable Wanyoto mentioned, that same space is the space that is moving the customer of that vendor. Now that is a conflict in urban planning. You're creating a conflict by design. If an authority issues a license or actually takes some money from that tomato seller, they are actually cheating government money that was invested in that walkway. And they are also affecting the comfort. You know, in the urban realm, the urban fabric, we have principles that we have to follow. There is safety, there is comfort, there is convenience, there is attractiveness, business case, there is air quality, quality of public space. How is the space in which you are moving, whether you're in a rural area or in an urban area? How do you feel as you walk downtown and there is someone selling some meat or something and it's, you know, touching your shoulder? I mean, we need to appreciate some of those things, but the approach matters. And I think this could have been our gap, but also the non-compliance and business as usual, especially from the citizen side. And Honorable Wanyoto was spot on when she said that the citizens were also surprised that finally there's an enforcement of a government directive. I mean, we made it a story of sympathy, of it's okay, we will do it today. In fact, some of the vendors are saying, give us 6 months, we shall be back. Now the challenge to the city authority, to that urban authority, local authority, is consistency. And this is a serious message that you send, but also explaining to the citizens that, look, you could make more money when you are more established. That when it rains, your business will still move on. Okay. And there's space in the market, you could move in there. And what I don't understand and agree with Patrick is, why are the goods being carried away? You are carrying away the tomatoes, the pineapples, the shoes. I don't understand, that's one. Then the destruction. I think for the destruction, these people could be given time and say, now, because we are enforcing this, you didn't have the permit for this kiosk, so we are going to, sorry. And I think it's good. We need to enhance the habit of abiding by the laws, regulations, because we can't ask for a good city, an organized space, and we contradict ourselves. However, we have to do it cautiously, given our informal basis sector, like he mentioned. We can organize within our informality, so in a human way.
Honorable Wanyeto, in the quest of creating order and having a better business environment, you have, government has sent away hundreds of thousands, suppose, of these business people into areas they do not know. They have retreated to different places, Chikova-Mutwe, Komamboga, Kiwunya, but they will strike back. Why? Because they have to survive. They have been trying to make money in a way that is legal, but now because they need to survive, they'll have to make it illegally or whatever means, and that will create some kind of insecurity.
No, I think that the stakeholders should continue the engagement and provide for those who do not have stores in the market or in gazetted areas. You know, we can gazette areas and say every Sunday, this can be a sale day or a garage day, and people sell in their garages or they sell wherever they can go. We need to have an administrative arrangement and policy where you can say every end of the month. I mean, in our villages we have these things. Kamara, I don't know whether your village you have this, but where I come from Umbara, I come from Ogisu. We know every end of the month where you go to buy cattle. Every second week of the Sunday, you know where you go to buy food or to buy a market day. So we can organize the cities so that there are those days that are meant for sale. Now, for those who have like perishable foods which you cannot wait for a week, they also arrange for them maybe some gazetted area, and they also arrange for them what you would call maybe cold rooms, and for only those that do not have stalls, that are not vendors in these constructed markets that we have. Because if there is a gap, let the structure of government that you're talking about, either the RDCs, the local leaders, account for these people. We need order, that's the truth.
I like
but we have not been able to raise to the occasion. You see now it is more emotional. I mean, I saw a lady, many people, because they know that I am very passionate about women. All my life I've been working for women. So there was a lady, she was called Mama somebody. She was breastfeeding a baby, and her makeshift structure had been put on a truck being taken. So she was crying, and the baby was breastfeeding. So my inbox is full of those such pictures, and I'm like, you see now, it has turned emotional and psychological. But how did she get there? Even construct a wooden shelter. She has been selling things there. There are issues of hygiene, Kamara. When it is raining here in Kampala, the floods, the cholera, the poor drainage, and why I'm speaking with a lot of thoughts and the process is that majority of those who are affected are women. But how does a woman leave her village or her home, comes and settles on a veranda or in front of a shop? Where is the LOC1 of that area? I mean, there must be order, because we are talking about post-mortem, but we should do preemptive. Before I build my shelter and bring my tomatoes or bring my clusters of matoke, somebody would say, you're in the wrong place. So we have also the issues of the leaders, because every village, there's 1,000 villages in Uganda, there is a leadership structure, and we have many leaders. The LOC1 has an legislation for 5 people. Then there is a defense in the village. So every Uganda is demarcated in villages. What are these people been waiting for? Because if we do preemptive measures, then we shall not have this problem. The challenge we have is post-mortem. That's why you're talking about destroying people's goods. How did the goods get in the wrong venues, on the walkways, in front of malls, in front of shops, and in front of unhygienic places? Because some of the people who are selling fresh foods, these are foods for eating, or fruits. Okay, for me, I think that I've been receiving a lot of petitions. People telling me, you see, you run around the country with government, and we did, to mobilize parish model. Somebody got their 1 million, began up a small business. But the venue was wrong. I've had Mr. Walugembe talking about policy and administrative documents. Nobody is, I don't have any blame here to give, but we must learn to move as a government. That's very important.
Okay.
We must preempt. It should not happen that a vendor comes from my village in Ibali and brings a wooden kind of structure in front of a hotel and starts frying chips there. When the one behind is paying rent, it has a license, and then for me, I keep and go away. These small people need to be helped. Let's first of all locate and gazette areas for them. And even a campaign to give them basic infrastructure, sanitation, and even a campaign to direct buyers. If you want this, go this, even on this day, on this hour, so that we have order. We need the order in the country.
Okay.
But at the same time, let me say this. Because of what has happened, and I hope the Walugembes have statistics.
We have.
And they have people, how long probably there could be maybe an arrangement of, out of goodwill, compensation, some level, but please, let's find alternatives for shelter and the gazetted areas for buying. Even when I worked in areas which had the conflict, we used to gazette markets. You could not just be anyway for security.
All right, Mr. Walugembe, you know.
But this is about sanitation.
Ugandans are known.
It's about order. It's about taxes. It's about even hygiene. Really, the best
Ugandans
hygiene.
are known to be very enterprising.
Yes.
I wonder what this will do to the entrepreneurial spirit that nowadays we call kuyiriba of a Ugandan. And what could be, won't it boomerang in terms of creating a negative impact on the economy?
Okay. First of all, my colleagues are advancing what I would call elitist arguments. Hygiene, air pollution. After you have gotten out of I'm saying this because many of us, after we've gotten out of poverty, you've received an education, you have a nice job, you have a nice car, you lose touch with the majority of Ugandans. In other words, you're more interested in things that self-actualize. I want fresh air, I want this. No problem. Those things are noble goals for you and people who are like you. But when we are talking about a city, we must say a city, an urban authority must work for all. We designate rural areas as cities when they are not supposed to be cities. These 10 cities that we are talking about, these are towns.
Actually, you
these are
mentioned,
towns.
Mr. Walgembe, we have 3 cities of the 10 that have physical development plans.
This is
Jinja,
the point.
Arua, and Gulu.
Thank you. They don't have. So if you don't have a physical development plan, what are you enforcing? Because a physical development plan should be the blueprint to say, according to the plan, you are not supposed to be here. But now it's how I feel. I come with a grader in the morning, there's poor visibility. I don't like your thing, I remove it. So we have conducted a survey as a federation. We have talked to close to 20,000 SMEs. Most of them have lost their assets. They have had their assets vandalized. These are buildings, these are kiosks. Some of their things, merchandise has been confiscated. And this is the point. Yeah, if you're talking about order, why are you bringing this order? And this bad behavior originated here in Kampala, where the enforcement teams steal bananas, then they go and sell them. And then they take the women to KCCA court.
Is this for real?
I've seen it. I'm telling you. You know, NTV did a documentary in the same. So this bad behavior of trying to punish enterprise. Yes, someone has done wrong, but the law tells you how to punish. In the Trade Licensing Act that they are referencing, we have a hawker's license. Is government giving out hawker's licenses? Those local governments, are they giving out hawker's licenses? There are licenses for mobile wholesalers. See? And this issue of saying everyone should go to the market, are you trying to say a mechanic is going to work in a market? Are you saying the person selling timber is going to work in a market? Are you saying, so not everyone will go to the market. We are talking about, and the plan itself talks about serviced industrial sites. This is the National Physical Development. I looked at it before I came here. It talks about serviced industrial sites along infrastructure corridors. These are not markets. Don't write something that you don't intend to implement. And when you're implementing, follow the law. This is what the Federation is saying. You people, cows and so on, read these documents. Someone writes a letter, says trade order, references the Trade Licensing Act, tells people to clean, to sweep, whatnot. Then for you start demolishing. What law are you following? Yes, we like order, but follow the law.
Okay.
Yeah, there is something that he's mentioning, and actually it's also mixing up the public emotional kind of response. There is the National Building Review Board, and under the amendment of the Building Act, Building Control Act, the demolitions are happening under the NBRB. Mostly.
They have denied that.
Mostly.
They've denied that, and there are no regulations.
And the kiosks, I think, which are being demolished, those are related to trade order. But there are these structures that are being demolished. So there's a mix-up. I think we need communication.
The National Building Review Board has, the act has been passed. There are no regulations. So what are they following? This act has just been passed this year. There are no regulations. And the board has categorically denied they are not part of this operation. This is the confusion we're referring to.
Exactly.
You're mixing physical planning, you're mixing building control, you're mixing trade licensing. And mind you, very many of the businesses whose premises have been broken have trading licenses. In fact, for some, they have even broken houses when I have the land title. Because
but did you have a building permit? Did you have a building plan? Those are the things that we need to discuss.
Amanda, in Kampala here, how many houses have a building permit? I'm just asking. If we are choosing to enforce the law, let's enforce it. Let's be blind. Let's break every house that lacks a permit. Let's not look for the weakest in society.
Exactly.
The vendor, that poor lady who has a child, has no means of income, and then you say, no, this is a soft target, let's start from there.
Patrick, I agree entirely with him, because the informality, on that I agree with him, but on the elitism, I think he needs to also separate, because there has to be the law, there has to be order, there has to be compliance, so you cannot mix that with elitism. However, the discriminative nature of this, because when you look at informality, there is also expensive informality, like informal establishments which are expensive and more damaging even to the environment, like some complexes in places where they are not supposed to be. So if we go for this vendor, because we are trying to enforce orderliness and also trade order, spatial order, I think it feels like you're kicking out the poor out of the urban fabric especially. So that's why we go back to the approach of how it is done. Sensitization, let's not fear sensitizing the citizens. Let's not fear facing them and trying to help them. Because we are categorized differently socially. Socio-economically, we have different classes. World over, I have seen vendors in Washington, D.C., but they are organized and they have hours. You can have vendors in Amsterdam, but it's organized every square, every Saturday and Sunday from, say, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's closed off to cars, to everything. People establish their businesses, their stalls, and people plan, tomorrow I'm going to do shopping. So they make money, there is order, there is peace. I mean, we should advocate for inclusion in an orderly manner, but we should not send a message that, no, because we are poor, because we are... No, all urban areas are receiving areas, really, given the rural-urban immigration. They receive people from different classes to settle. You need a house which is affordable but safe. And that's why the plan, the point that Mr. Walugembe has really put across correctly is that the physical development plans are very key. However, the enforcement, the implementation has been lacking, and that's where now we are being trapped because the citizens are not used to that.
Honorable Lydia Wanyeto, sometimes you can try to do something good, but there is a tendency of the selective enforcement and implication, of the law. You find the weak are picked on. You may find that those well-to-do sometimes have even encroached on a sensitive ecological area of the city. When you go in our settlement areas, it's in Kampala where you can go to bed, you have a neighbor, it's a house, you wake up tomorrow, the neighbor is a factory. And it's happened like that. Because he's a big man, I don't know, there has been a word that is very common called Gambanogu. Because he can make a call and call somebody and then things end there.
Do you know me? They
selective application, selective application of the law.
Yes, you've talked about selective application of the law, but I want to add the perceived politicization of the process. I come from a city, I come from Mbale City. I'm a member of parliament of the Mbale City in the 12th parliament. And I got so many calls and petitions, people saying, you see, 1 week after we had voted for you,
started on us.
Then you began telling us to leave the city, to leave the places. So with the timing also did not help, because now it was just after elections. And it never came out as a big campaign message to say, we are going to, after elections, we are going to clean the cities and we are going to create order. It was not there. But in the National Development Plan and the plans for the city, we've really shown that we need to have order and that there are plans. But even in the past, the whole instance of building massive, it was a project, massive markets, whether it is in Lira, whether it's in Mbale, where I come from, whether it's in Soroti, you find there are new markets. And I want to agree with Mr. Walugembe. Like I've said earlier, I've been mentioning consistently that we need to gazette areas. Areas which are gazetted should now serve other interests other than small trade people, other than the market. Saloons may not go to the main stores in the market, no garages. I come from Mbale, like I've said, the garage where the main garage is, it is meant to be church space. So before you even talk about trade order, we already have those areas where people are working, but originally that space is not meant for them. If you look at the plan and even the titling of the spaces, you find that faith-based institutions have their land in very strategic places. But people have gone and they use those places. They come with a small makeshift something, like now the garage, they do some repair here and there. Before you know what has grown, someone comes and parks the car there, they dismantle it. These are all Walugembe's people. But you see the timing, you're talking about the issue of being selective. the timing is also a challenge because
You
we
know,
just come from general elections.
Talk about the church. I have seen also they have also been very creative. They have now moved out with their megaphones on the streets, and so they are giving us the word
that is noise pollution.
Yes.
On every street in Kampala or elsewhere, you find someone with a public address and with the Bible they are preaching. But is that part of the order? We have gazetted areas for worship, but somebody is on the street worshiping. If they remove them, then it is where they will come and start.
You are attacking the church.
You are attacking the church.
I don't speak for that. The interreligious country.
So, and the issue is you see the challenge you've had, Kamara, is in the past we've been having a very big weakness in enforcement. Look, why do we have the drainage blocked? Because we have not enforced the disposal of plastics and disposal of garbage. Your village, you come from Otoro, you've brought cows to Kampala, Matoke, they all end up as garbage in the streets of Kampala with our paved drainage. And they block. There must be a comprehensive enforcement. The policies are there, the laws are there, the stakeholders, the associations are there, the groups are there. The issue is enforcement. And I've said we should do the preemptive. Because if you stop me from putting something structure which is not correct, how will I now come and say you have spoilt my structure because it was not there in the first place? But you leave me to settle. You know, in law there is that appeasement. You know, if you allow somebody to go through your land, you go through the land, then you begin saying that they say, this is an easement, you've already accepted. So you have to be very careful on how people settling on land or spaces, even creating paths.
Okay. So Mr. Walgembe, when government moves the way it has done, do we expect you to, for example, maybe go to court? But is this even winnable?
No, we'll go to court because most
and
of
you're arguing to come back on this?
As I've argued, most of these things, they are under some opaque operation called trade order. When you ask them what law is guiding what you're doing, they are unclear. Some, I've told you, are already engaged in building control activities. The National Building Review Board has confirmed they are not part of these operations. I've indicated to you that there are no regulations to operationalize the newly passed act. So how can you be breaking people's houses without guiding regulations? Similarly, in terms of physical planning, we already have a problem, as I indicated. During the merger, this physical planning board should have gone to Ministry of Lands. It ended up in National Planning Authority. See? So now there's also some level of confusion there. It's
hanging in the air somewhere.
It is hanging in the air somewhere, but ideally it should be in the Ministry of Lands. Then you have the Trade Licensing Act. It indicates what licenses you're supposed to give out, trading licenses, hawkers licenses, mobile licenses. You can't say that the law does not allow vending, yet the law provides for hawkers. So a hawker does what? So people, let also, these gentlemen in these offices, I know, have gone to school, but they need to take time to also read these documents.
But Amanda,
so,
you know...
don't implement. So the issue is that this thing that they're implementing is opaque. We are going to appeal because we know going to court should be the last resort. So we are making an effort. We are writing appeals. We are making the case that this thing is hurting not just those small people, but the economy. I've indicated local revenue will nosedive. National revenue will go down because there are points of consumption. I've indicated unemployment will go up and insecurity will increase. So it's a security issue. It's a gender inclusion issue. It's a revenue issue. So URA and Ministry of Finance should take interest. So we are writing these appeals so that these friends of ours see reason and we start a conversation. How do we do this better?
Sometimes, wasn't not an error of judgment for weakening the National Physical Planning Board? I thought it was supposed to be enhanced, but now in this merger thing, for a country that is just more or less like starting up. You're trying to plan yourself so that as you move, you're more orderly. And then we see a weakening of the system that we have made.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but as you know, it's a cabinet decision, and actually it is still before cabinet, this matter. It has not been resolved yet, and NPA is not able to proceed with the implementation of the law as it was passed after RAPEX. But that conversation is going on. However, the local governments are still running the fiscal planning work, although now I don't know even who is supervising the fiscal planning committees, because it was a mandate of the National Fiscal Planning Board, which should now be under NPA. However, there's one factor that we need to appreciate. There's what is called the just transition in city change or urban planning developments. And I think that's what Mr. Walugembe is focusing on. Just from justice, how is our transition being structured? If it's 40% of the informal sector running the economy, when you're trying to formalize what is the wound that we are creating, what's the effect socially and economically, how just is it? This is a new approach to urban development, especially to African cities that are the title of your topic tonight, the hassles of Kampala, or the economic hassles. So just transition is where the trap will be. This also happened during the Industrial Revolution. It was not easy. People were being saved, salvaged from very congested areas, and they were trying to enable them to stay in safer zones, safer areas for human dignity. But they were so attached to their spaces, however bad or dangerous they were to them. And that is a process that really these days you must have inclusiveness. You must discuss, and this, some people might call it theory. It is an engagement, even at a household level. The just transition should happen. Now, when you look at the rural setting, it might be difficult even to get a boda to move. In Katwe, you will not be able to get any mode of transport. So if, for example, we say that now we are going to get rid of this, by the way, they are now worried. They are saying, oh, maybe we are next. So how would people move even in the villages? So we need to discuss this aspect very well, and that's where the issue of harmonization should be. Is it the mandate of Ministry of Gender? Is it Trade? Is it Ministry of Local Government? Are we working together to ensure that the public is not confused? Was Mr. Walugembe involved in this process? Did they seek advice? And we need to adopt this kind of planning. It takes long, it's expensive, but it gives some sustainable. We talked about sustainability when you are opening this show. It gives you an assurance of a sustainable approach. You might admire some cities for what they are doing rapidly. You will find that you'll go and stay in a place, opposite it, there will be a place. When you go back a month later, the thing has been swept away. And where did that population go? So let's not try to copy and paste, but let us try to do it in the local context. All engagement is very key.
Amanda, hold on to your points because you're going to take a break. On the spot will be... Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara, and my guests tonight are Honorable Lydia Wanyoto, woman MP-elect in Mbale City, Mr. John Walugembe, Executive Director, Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises, and Amanda Ngabirano, former Chairperson, National Physical and Planning Board.
But you should add that I'm a candidate for the Speaker of the Parliament.
I was preparing that for the best. Oh my God, Lydia, you actually have come with a lot of gusto into the house, even before you step in.
You are here lamenting. The Speaker of the Federal Parliament will sort a lot of things.
We want a Speaker who is pro-SM.
You are talking to the right person.
We want a Speaker
so
who's
you proceed.
Okay.
These things are fair trade orders, stakeholders. I'll put everything to order.
Yeah, we shall have that. You know, when
12
you do that,
parliaments.
I want Nobert Mao there, Anita Mong here, Persistent
No, the city is one.
once a year so that we can do the speaker thing. but
invite us. I can't even stay here and wait for the others to come.
Yeah, we shall have all of you here. So
we are 6.
You are 6 here.
Yeah.
Plus Andrea from Aringa, I think. Honorable Wanyuto, when you look at the transport sector, the public transport system in Kampala, it is so chaotic. Yes, there are people who are also doing that business, especially at the border. And that's how they hustle here, and that's their livelihood. But the way how they disregard the law, the traffic regulations, in total, even the traffic police, when just looking at them, now they have reached a point that the police cannot even say anything. It's amazing how the kind of power that they have. They will drive anywhere, in any direction, whatever they want, no matter what.
You see,
in the form of also trading illicit.
The traffic or transport system in the city, even on the highway, is a very, very serious national security matter. You look at it in terms of an accident, congestion, but it can be a very serious national security matter. Because you don't know who is riding where they are coming from. I saw there was an effort to put CCTV cameras to see who is coming from where are you riding to, but also to track any transport movements, whether it's borders or taxis, those CCTV cameras. I hope that the project is still ongoing because I no longer hear so much about it. But if KCCA or urban authorities or even the Ministry of Works and Trade and local government do not fix the issue of transport, whether it's borders or taxis, it's a very serious national security matter.
The question
and
really,
they leave alone the disorder. So the question is, what about them? Because we must have demarcated terminals. This is the other thing I'm telling you. You cannot wake up in the morning, today your stage is in Chambogo. Tomorrow your stage is in Nakawa. Or even if you are known, where did you come from? Which routes do you ride? So we need order. We need order, and I know that they will say, why are you talking about this after elections? Because we didn't talk about, we did not talk about it as a campaign issue to say, you guys, after elections, we are going to enforce, because the campaign of trade orders have been there for traffic. It has been there. It's a security matter. CCTV cameras were promised, terminals, and even registration of borders. I asked Mr. Walgembe, are your people for the small-scale communities registered? He said yes. But how do you balance them? Where are they from? When do they enter the city and when do they go? Because these are important statistics. Maybe I shouldn't overbeat the matter, because even us at our policy level, we should have smallholder statistics or census. We should have this regular census. Who is entering the city every day and what are they doing in the city? Because if people are entering to do business, we should know. And when they are retiring in the evening, we should also know, because we just talk about populations. Kampala is 5 million during the day, in the evening is 1.5. But unpacking it, for us, during COVID or else time when we went to the markets and when we were allocating these markets after construction, that's when it really hit us about statistics of women. Yeah. Majority of these smallholder people, they're women, or people who are being even removed for trade orders are women. Most of them single mothers actually. Yeah. And they've taken over the responsibilities of households. True. The husbands make women pregnant, and maybe because of challenges I cannot explain today, they leave everything to the women. So while she's crying, it's because there is she's against the wall. But away from that, we must plan for them. We must know whether when you are leaving your village to the city, where are you going? And we must gazette for them. I've been mentioning gazetted areas. Yeah. Why have we failed to gazette areas for this? Even market days or market for spaces for vendors or streets for vendors must be planned. And then we must know who you are vending, because even vendors are a street matter. Somebody can be pretending to be a vendor. Kumbe is a dui. We must know, you must have an identity card, an identity to say yes, you're a vendor, but this you have a street where you vend, or a gazette area where you vend, and know where you come from. You have an address.
Okay.
Not just seeing human beings moving around with many things.
Yeah,
we are just like a country. Otherwise, we would be in trouble.
I think that's the word. I agree with you on that one. Mr. Walugembe, you know, movement of people is key. Transport, public transport is key.
Yeah.
Probably our biggest public transport system is border. But what I don't understand is how they are able to defy the traffic rules with such impunity. And nobody can even talk about them. Yes, let them trade here, let them do their thing. But just to defy the orders in the presence of police is unbelievable.
Okay. Firstly, I want to thank Madam Wanyoto for her last submission. I agree with her 110%. I think she has summarized it well. Most of the SMEs that are affected by trade order are women. Most of them they are doing it for survival. So these are things we need to keep at the back of our minds as we go about rolling it out. Now, on the issue of border, it's, to be honest, you know, as you can't be a head teacher and say, in this school, people must arrive by 7, and then you arrive at 3 p.m. You yourself must set the example. So you talk about borders disregarding traffic rules, but you're so big people you see what? Driving on pavements and so on. So there's a general element of disorder amongst us. I'm also a driver, but you see how people drive and you wonder. Sometimes I wonder, did they go to driving school or not? So border, yes, but it's part of a wider problem of disorganization, disorder, and total disregard for rules. In a capital city like, first of all, I believe Kampala it won't serve us for the next 20 years. We must start a discussion on setting up a new capital city, an administrative capital city that's clean. Nigerians did it, they left Lagos and went to Abuja. Tanzania did it, left Dar es Salaam and went to Dodoma. Malawi did it. Different countries have done it. The commercial capital in South Africa, the commercial capital Johannesburg, and the administrative capital, which is Cape Town and Pretoria.
Which is Pretoria. Administration, yeah.
Yes, so the point therefore is that as a country, we must start that discussion now. Can we start planning a new city which will serve us for the next 50 to 40 years? This thing is, what we are doing now is retrofitting, chasing vendors today, they return, doing this, then it has flooded, then we say, let us inspect, let's clean the drainage. So the pressure, the people coming into the city are so many that whatever we do, we shall not succeed in the end. On the issue of borders, my recommendation would be this. Government should invest, just like Tanzania, in light rail to take people around the central business district. It's cheap, it's environmentally friendly, and I don't think it's super expensive. If that fails, we can have a rapid bus transport system. Now I see we make buses in Chira Motors, so we can use those solar buses to transport people. So borders, you can say that a border cannot enter the CBD. Past Weyugerere, no border. Past Matete, no border. Past this area, past this area. So this CBD, you have excellent public transport system. The borders can help in the suburbs and all these other areas. Of course, it requires investment, but government is investing. If you look at the road infrastructure they are doing, I think it's positive. If you look at the investments they are making in lighting, so I believe the way forward is not to discipline the borders. Even if we train them, even if we change the associations, in the end, we must have a central business district where taxis, borders, and so on may not necessarily come. Yes.
You know, Amanda, many people have hinted on the state of Kampala, and they think the city is so congested and so confused that almost it's irredeemable. And there are plans everybody's kind of mooting a plan that we should get out of here and move. Is that could also be your considered opinion?
To get out of here?
As in create another?
For me, that's okay, but that's not the solution. And actually, that's kind of running away from a messy place within your own area, and you think that, okay, I'm going to start a new one there. I mean, there are some locational advantages that Kampala has. That's one. However, the story of other cities, other areas being abandoned over time is what crowded Kampala, like Mr. Walgembe has correctly said. So that can only be solved again when we disperse, when we redistribute. The redistribution, I think you must have also read it in the NPDP, redistributing opportunities partially across the country. I've seen someone online is saying that I should use simpler English, but that's what we call it, spatially, geographically. Distribution should be well balanced so that people, even the vendors, might find it better to stay in their village, in Mayuge, for example, and they have no business here except to visit. So this story of running away from Kampala, let's have another city, it's okay, but it's kind of running away from a problem. Then the issue of public transport. It is very true. We have no public transport. We got Pioneer Easy buses, you know what happened to them. And public transport is not just vehicles. We are not going to have buses and dump them in the network that is like ours, where you have junctions that are very difficult to manage, where you have infrastructure that does not befit the bus rapid transit that he's talking about, where you have associations or border associations and taxi associations that are not going to be absorbed. That system will definitely crash. So the public transport question has to be addressed like this. Organize the borders right now, the leadership, which I'm actually proudly associated with right now.
Okay.
We have a border leadership through which government can now channel the conversation to try and change them, help them to formalize in an organized way. So there are some trainings that are going on. Road safety. You talked about the traffic police letting them pass and the impunity. There are trainings going on. Road safety, leadership skills, hygiene, you know, and also communication skills. But this will take time. And when we are not organized as a regulatory authority, as government, they will take advantage of this. The same applies to taxis. How many people are employed by one taxi? You can count, a minimum is 5. There's the owner of the vehicle, there's the operator or the driver, there's a conductor, there's a tout, there's a mechanic. Those are families, those are 5 households. Now, when you bring a larger vehicle into the network, this dominant provider of public transport must be part of that change. That is the modern way of planning, which Mr. Walgembe should support and say now we will have a network whereby we'll have the larger vehicles, the light rail he's talking about, those are trams. They are very space efficient. They take very little space, but they are efficient. They move people. It's not moving a car. When you see this jam of ours, the city is moving vehicles. It's not moving the citizens, because one vehicle has about two people.
Sometimes one.
Sometimes one. And that same space occupied by 50 cars can be occupied by one bus. And that is not efficient. When you look at the maintenance costs, the maintenance and the operation, the private car takes a lot more. Now, public transport is a public service, and therefore, government cannot leave it entirely to the private sector. Government must have a hand beyond regulations, registration of these people, beyond issuing route charts. They must actually bring them to the table and say, look, we have a plan of bus rapid transit, and in the next 5 years, we shall transition like this. We shall begin with Kampala Road, Bombo Road, Chira Road, and then probably when we have terminals, you will be supporting this network, but the buses will have a priority line, what we call the priority line. Because the BRT that you talked about should be having a fixed fare. You're coming from Chireka, going to Waise, your ticket should be 1. Fixed, you just transition, let's say, at City Square. It should be on schedule. It should have priority at junctions. It should have fixed stops. I mean, are we ready for this before we engage these public transport operators? So to me, I think the solution lies in first admitting that the current public transport providers are actually subsidizing government because they are providing a public service, which is public transport. And then the other thing is, it will not be only the Ministry of Works to do it. Right now, I told you we are planning for Livingstone City in Zambia, and it's not the Ministry of Transport. It's a network under the Ministry of Tourism, because a good city should promote comfort, should promote good accessibility, should promote safety and clean ways of moving around. So the bicycle is being seen by the Ministry of Tourism as a way of marketing their city.
All right.
So can we also have such things happen, that public transport does not stop at Ministry of Works and Transport, does not stop at KCCA, but becomes a metropolitan discussion, that we see the organization, the transition from informal, the current one is informal. And then police, why does police ignore them at junctions? Why do you think they ignore them?
They're overwhelmed.
Well, if they can run an operation of, let's say, a month, not giving them fines, just stopping them. I know our neighboring country did it by just having stops. They call all of them, put them aside, talk to them, that they train them on site. What does it take for us to do that? We can have the border. Singapore has them. We can have them, but organized. But what is happening right now? They know that the enforcement will not happen. And this is what is going to happen when all of a sudden they are stopped in some zones. They will also say we are being mistreated. So what can we do in order for us not to really contradict ourselves? Like Honorable Anyeto, you talked about registration of borders. How many times have they been registered? 1,000 times.
Honorable Wanyeto, as you step in as in the 12th Parliament, because you have new leaders now, you have a new mandate, and the NRM government also has such a huge mandate that was given over 72% to President Museveni. What should we expect in terms of what policies you can bring really that can affect
the
more?
Policies are there. Like all this noise, there is no new policy that has been put in place. The enforcement. Let's just get the policies, the laws which are available, we can review. Because these are living things, we have emerging situations. But let's be able to enforce what is existing in terms of policy, program, or even projects be reviewed and enforce them. What the Ugandans are crying, even what I'm telling you that's on my phone about women, did not just happen. The policies are there, the plans are there, but enforcement has been lacking. So let's do the enforcement and let's deliver. Let's be in the community and explain things to the people. Okay. This is going to change. Even it's a mindset issue. People are not used to be told what to do. Right. They kept thinking that nobody is going to be. Then you've heard about phone calls, influence, selective application of enforcement and justice. I am so and so. I don't want to leave my kiosk here. Then so you leave that one first. I am so and so. They want to break my petrol station. You're talking about kiosks. But recently I passed via a place. The petrol station is being built here. The residential areas here. There is a restaurant here. What type of planning is this one? But somebody has a license. And we have regulations to construct any flammable facility next to a home and next to a restaurant. Then you will see fire blowing and then we shall begin running with the extinguishers, or they don't even have. Then we begin saying, how did we end there when people have lost life?
Okay,
that's a good example.
We must preempt
in the interest of time,
wrongdoing.
In the interest of time, Mr. Walugembe, how do you get out of this? How do we,
Okay, so
where do we go from here?
Okay, so first of all, I must emphasize we are not opposed to trade order, but we want trade order that's orderly and that follows the law. We don't want trade order that's subjective and that can be taken over by personal interests. So we are saying, and we have requested in our petitions, that these trade operations be halted temporarily, that we have elaborate stakeholder consultations, we have sensitization. Those cities that don't have physical development plans, you don't rush to enforce. If you don't have a blueprint, what are you enforcing? And this is the argument. You can't say there are policies when you don't have physical development. What are you enforcing? So develop a physical development plan, develop strategies for trade order strategies, sensitize people, set up alternatives, phase it. We don't need to do it at once. Why do we shock the economy? We wake up, they are breaking here, they are breaking here. No. Let us phase it. We can say we'll pilot it in 3 cities that have physical development plans, and we shall follow this process. We shall sensitize. We shall give people time. We shall set up alternatives. You can't be in a home and your strategy is caning children all the time through enforcement. You cane. That's why I said corporal punishment does not work. You must sometimes talk to a child and say, these are our objectives, and they'll do what you tell them to do. So we are saying excessive enforcement may not be the best strategy. Let us educate. Let us bring people along. Let's involve different stakeholders. We all want the same thing. We want a successful Uganda. We want an economy that works for the rich as well as for the poor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walugembe. Amanda, what's going to be your parting shot?
My parting shot actually is let's not be discriminative, because a vendor selling tomatoes is not as harmful as the petrol station. Construction in a residential neighborhood or near a school, near a market. If any fire outbreak happens, there's a bigger damage on the other side than when the tomatoes fall down and this pedestrian steps on them. Let's actually roll this out as a way of people changing their mindset. But also, physical planning laws, standards and guidelines should be respected. Even where there is no physical development plan, Mr. Walugembe, there are standards that have to be followed. For example, the minimum standards, you know, the location, are you near a swamp, whether there's a plan or not? Are you going to damage the geology of an area? Are you near a junction and you want to set up something? Did you provide for drainage? I mean, there are some basics that we need to encourage. Lastly, I think we have a citizen education gap. And because of the business as usual mindset, we have a lot of work to do through harmonized strategies across different agencies, and also engaging stakeholders up to the grassroots level. We sensitize, and let's use the local languages. Let's stop the elitism. Too much English everywhere. It's not going to help. We break down these messages. We use visuals, and we be intentional.
Thank you, Amanda. Let me go back to Honorable Lydia Wanyoto. I want to give you a moment so that you can make your elevator pitch, because your eyes, you're looking at the speaker race, at this position of speaker. How I wish my producer next time he will bring us here, all of them here, Norbert Mao, the Right Honorable Neta Mong, you bring us Princess Namuganza, bring us Kiki Florence, and bring us Ayeko Adrian, and of course Lydia, so that we can do this again. But now that you are here, your elevator pitch.
You'll invite us. I'll be the first one to arrive. I'll come 2 hours before, because I'm ready to inform Ugandans. It's a national matter of interest. It's not about, you know, people keep thinking that, you know, for speaker, because the members of parliament who vote, it's about MPs. We are 522. We have 529 members of parliament for the 12th parliament. But this is a national interest matter. The head of an arm of government cannot be a business for the MPs alone. Even the voters, you should interest yourselves that the country and tell your MPs to vote right, so that it's not an issue of a few people and then you go lamenting 5 years down the road, things are not happening and all this. So I invite a public debate on TV. It may not exhaust, but it will give you a picture on what to tell your member of parliament, what, because it's a secret ballot. So they shouldn't fear or they shouldn't have any, we are going to be together for 5 years. So respect, but also get the right people in the office to work. It's one position, but it's very important for the land.
All right.
It's very important for the land, and I did not express interest just for jokes. It's a very serious business because it's a do or die. We have a very small budget. You see, they talk about appropriation this week, about taxes. They are taxing fuel. These small people who are selling chips, they are taxing oil, fat. You must be able to say that we are taxing Ugandans, but there must be value for money. Value for money. And you must put us to task to ensure that when you are heading the legislature, it's a people parliament.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
But on the issue of trade order, it speaks also to what we saw in Chitezi. You don't want a Chitezi to happen again. Waste management, order, we must be ahead of saving lives. Sanitation, hygiene, all these things are very important. We should plan. I want to hear Mr. Walugembe saying that we have organized this space, or this place has been gazetted by the KCCA, and I want 10 people or 12 people to come from Gayaza. You record them, but people come ahead of you. You see? The planning is following the people or the gazetting. You should be able to announce so people can express interest. Me, I want to come to this area to sell tomatoes. Let us be expression of interest to come. But now, the whatever is lying in Kamara, let the people go knowing that corruption is one of the biggest setback of our country. Because even these kiosks you see and the selective management of enforcement, it has to do with kitu kidogo. We must make corruption a sin of crime. And if we don't do that, then we are doomed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lydia Wanyoto. Thank you, Mr. John Walugembe, and thank you, Amanda Ngabirano. You've added value to this topic, I think, and I want to thank you for having honored the invitation to come, and for you, and Lydia, we wish you luck in your political endeavor. Maybe I can end on this truism that every politician. Invite us,
talk to the Ugandans. This is your office. You voted for us, and it's your money.
Every politician, let me end with this truism. Every politician will always want to have power, and when you get that power, you always want to retain that power. But it's also true, power eventually disappears. Good night, and God bless you guys.